Okay, so far we considered one random variable case. Then we discussed about the various numbers that are related to the random variable. Okay. So all these numbers can be termed as statistical averages. Okay. So we obtain the expectation of the random variable and the expectation of the function of the random variable. Okay. And then we obtain the moments. Okay. So first moment, second moment. Similarly, we have the central moments. The first central moment is equivalent to 0. The second central moment is the variance, which is the indication or is the measure of randomness of the random variable, and the spread of the density function around the mean value can be evaluated by measuring the quantity called as the standard deviation. Similarly, we have the measure of asymmetry of the density function around the mean value, and that is termed as the skew. Okay. And then we studied the coefficient of skewness also. Then we transform the random variable to obtain a new random variable. Okay. That is, we represented the random variable y as the function of another random variable, so g of x. Okay. That g is some transformation which takes the random variable x as input and produces the random variable y. The transformation may be either monotonically increasing or non-monotonically decreasing. That is, it may be monotonic transformation or non-monotonic transformation, and we derive an expression for the density function of the random variable y in terms of the density function of the random variable x. So now we look at the two random variable case. That is, we consider more than one random variable, and in our syllabus it is only that is, we mainly concentrate on the two random variables. Okay. And the same concept can be extended to more than two random variables or n random variable case. So before proceeding, let us start with a simple example. So this is a sample space of the coin tossing experiment, in which the outcomes are ht, th, so tt. That is, when you toss the coin twice, toss a pair coin twice, and these are the four outcomes of the random experiment. So here on the sample space S, we can define a random variable x in such a way that x takes the number of x that come up when the coin tossed twice. Okay. So here number of heads 2, here it is 1 when the outcome is either of these two, either ht or th. When the outcome is tt, x can take 0. That is 0, 1, 2 are the values that are taken by the random variable x. That is, here, according to certain rule, we map the outcomes of the sample space onto the real axis, so the real numbers. Understood? So here this is one particular rule. Similarly, we can define one more random variable on the same sample space. Let us take y is another random variable that is taking the number of tails that come up when you perform the experiment. Okay. So here it is 0. When the outcome is either of these two, that will be 1. Here it is. Similarly, you can define one more random variable. Okay. Like this, how many random variables can you define? We can define infinite number of random variables on a single sample space. Okay. It simply depends on the rule that we set. According to certain rule, the random variable x can assign either these values or another random variable can assign these values. Understood? So here, these two random variables x and y may be depend on one another. They may be independent of each other, or there may be some correlation between these two random variables. Otherwise, if you know the knowledge of one random variable, you may guess something about the another random variable. So there may be some relation between these two random variables. Okay. So here, if you have a sample space, we can define more than one random variable on the same sample space. So now we look at the case where we have more than one random variable, and we concentrate first on the two random variables. So for that purpose, so let this is the sample space S, and let us assume S1 and S2 are the two sample points. So we forget about this. Okay, the first experiment we perform is a coin tossing experiment. I am considering another sample space. So this S is different from this. So here we can map the sample points onto the real axis. So let this x-axis is the real axis and x is the real value. X can take any value from minus infinity to plus infinity. Then we can define a random variable that maps the sample points, that is S1 is mapped onto a point, this one. This can be considered as x of S1. And similarly we have this sample point, this mapped onto x of S2. That is a random variable x. This is x of S2, x of S1, and this is x of S2. Is it right? This is the mapping between the sample space S and onto the real axis. Now I have another axis, normally I denote it as y-axis. In one case, I mapped the sample point onto the x-axis. So here, the random variable x can take two values, x of S1 when the outcome is S1, x of S2 when the outcome is S2. Because when we perform the experiment, either of these two outcomes can come up, either S1 or S2. So we have so many possible outcomes. At a time, one outcome will be there. Then x of S1 is the value that taken by the random variable x. X of S2 is another random variable that taken by the random variable x when the outcome is S2. Understand? Now, when the outcome is S2, there is another random variable that is taking another value, that is y of S2. Okay, this is one value. Again, this y-axis also real axis. Okay, y takes the real values from minus infinity to plus infinity. That is here x and y are in between minus infinity and plus infinity, the real values. And so this can be mapped onto another value, that is y of S. That is, we are transforming or we are mapping the sample point onto the x-axis and the y-axis. So here we are defining two random variables, x and y. X takes the values x of S1 and x of S2. That is, it can be considered as x1, this can be considered as x2. And similarly, the y is another random variable that can take two different values based on the outcome of the experiment, y1, y2. So this is the mapping of the same sample space onto two different axes. So to obtain the two different variables x and y. So here we are, this x and y are the two functions. We already defined the random variable is a function that maps the sample points onto the real axis. Okay. So I consider this is the real axis and this is also real axis, and this is the mapping between the sample space onto the real axis, or this particular xy plane. Okay. I can say that this is the xy plane, and we are mapping the sample points onto the xy plane. In the previous case, in the case of one random variable, we are mapping the sample points onto the real axis, only one axis. But here we are mapping the sample points onto the xy plane. Understood? This xy plane normally designated as S J. Here it is a sample space S, and this is called a joint sample space. Why? Because we have two different random variables, okay, and we are mapping the sample points onto the Sj plane. So this Sj is called as the joint sample space. The concept of two random variables, that is, the sample space is same outcomes, but we are defining two different random variables on the same sample space, and the values that are taken by the two random variables may be different, may be equal, and this random variable may depend on this, or this may depend on this, or there may be some correlation between these two random variables. So now I consider two events, the A and B, that are defined on the sample space S. Let this is sample space S, and I have two events A and B. Let this is one event, so A, and another event. Okay. We try to see the mapping between the sample space S and the xy plane, or Sj, joint sample space. So for that purpose, I consider the xy plane. So x and y, and this is the Sj, that is the joint sample space. Here I am assuming this A is defined as the event in which the random variable x takes values less than or equivalent to x, and B is another event that is taking values y less than or equivalent to 1. So I define two events, A and B. A is x less than or equivalent to x. So let us take this is x. So x less than or equivalent to x. So this entire region is it x less than or equivalent to x. Therefore, here this event, that is event A, is mapped onto this region, or these points of the xy plane, is it? So this is the entire xy plane, and this is the event A, as we are letting the event A as x less than or equivalent to x. So here this A is mapped onto these points. Okay, this is the mapping between the event A onto the points in such a way that x is taking values less than or equivalent to x. Understood? This is the mapping. So here the random variable x is taking values less than or equivalent to x. Similarly, we can define one more event in which it is y less than or equivalent to y. Y less than or let us say is some y, is it? So y less than or equivalent to y means so all these values. That is, this region, event B, is mapped onto these points, the points with this green lines. That is the mapping between this sample space S to the joint sample space Sj. Is it clear? Now we concentrate on this region. Here, what we call this? This is the joint event A intersection. Is that right? Now if you consider this region in which we have cross hatched lines, the lines are crossing. So that region is important for us, in which the two conditions are satisfied. That is, x less than or equivalent to x and y less than or equivalent to y. So here this event A intersection B, it is a joint event that can be written as x less than or equivalent to x intersection y less than or equivalent to y. Understood? So here this can also be written as x less than or equivalent to x comma y less than or equivalent to y. That is, we are simply replacing that intersection by comma, just for simplicity of the notation. Okay, instead of always writing this intersection, we can simply write a comma. That indicates it is a joint event. Joint event is x less than or equivalent to x and y less than or equivalent to y. So here this is the event y less than or equivalent to y, and this is the event x less than or equivalent to x. Now if we consider this region in which the lines are crossing, that region is the joint event. That event is the joint event in which the random variable x is taking values less than or equivalent to x, y is taking values less than or equivalent to y. This is x and y, x less than or equivalent to x and y less than or equivalent to the joint. So if you know the joint event, can we find the joint probability of the particular event? Now we try to do this. So we already know that probability of A intersection B, the joint event, a joint probability, which is equivalent to probability of AB, that is probability of x less than or equivalent to x comma y less than or equivalent to y. And we can eliminate, otherwise I do one thing, I write it as the intersection of these two events, and this can be simply written as x less than or equivalent to x, y less than or equivalent to, where small x is the value that taken by the random variable capital X, and small y is the value that taken by the random variable capital Y. So here this particular quantity, that is the probability of x less than or equivalent to x, y less than or equivalent to y, is designated by fxy of x comma y. So we already know that probability of x less than or equivalent to x is defined as fx of x. So the same concept is extended to the two random variables. If you have two random variables and the joint event of the two random variables is defined as x less than or equivalent to x and y less than or equivalent to y. The probability of x less than or equivalent to x and y less than or equivalent to y, that is the probability of this event, the event that is indicated in this region in which the lines are crossing. Okay. That particular region indicates the joint event, and the probability of occurrence of that particular event is designated as the density function fxy of x comma y. Actually it is a distribution function, and we call it as the probability, the cumulative distribution function, and this is also termed as the joint CD, joint cumulative distribution function. So fxy of x comma y, so probability of x less than or equal to x, y less than or equal to x. So this is the defined quantity called as the joint cumulative distribution function, which is defined on the two random variables x and y, where x is taking values less than or equivalent to x, y is taking values less than or equivalent to y. The probability of this joint event is designated as fxy of x comma y. Now if you consider fxy of infinity comma infinity, that is, I am letting probability of x less than or equivalent to infinity, and y is also taking all the values in the xy plane. If you consider the xy plane, both x and y, two random variables, are taking all values in the xy plane. So therefore it is a certain event. Understood? So which will be equivalent to 1. That is, if you see that xy plane that we already plotted, okay, that entire plane. So therefore the random variables x and y are taking all points. Similarly, so fxy of minus infinity comma minus infinity is equivalent to probability of x less than or equivalent to minus infinity. It is an impossible event. Y less than or equivalent to minus infinity. It is also an impossible event. So therefore the intersection of those two events is pi. Therefore it is 0, because this is a certain event and this is the impossible event. Fxy of minus infinity comma x, sorry, y, write it as y. What does it mean? X is equivalent to minus infinity and y is equivalent to y. Okay. This is probability of x less than or equivalent to minus infinity, y less than or equivalent to y. Understood? What about this? See, x less than or equivalent to infinity is impossible event. It's a pi. So pi intersection y less than or equivalent to y. How much? It is pi. This is also 0. Understood? Because that is impossible event. Don't get confused. Here we are writing the comma, but that is a joint event. Okay, this intersection this intersection this. And similarly, fxy x comma minus infinity. This is also 0. It is x less than or equivalent to x. X is taking values less than or equivalent to x, but y is taking values less than or equivalent to minus infinity. That is, event B is impossible event. So therefore the intersection of those two is impossible. And this is also. But what about fxy of infinity comma y? This is the probability of x less than or equivalent to infinity and y less than or equivalent to 1. Can I write this as probability of y less than or equivalent to y? Why? Because this is a certain event. So this is S intersection this is this. Understood? Therefore this is Fy of. Similarly, we have fxy of x comma infinity is equivalent to probability of x less than or equivalent to x, and this is fx of x. So here the last two equations, that is this and this, are very important. We obtain Fy of y. What is Fy of y? CDF of y and fx of x is CDF of x. If you derive the CDF of y and x from the joint CDF, then those two CDFs and this are called as the marginal CDFs. This is called the marginal distribution function, and this is also the marginal CDF of x. One is the marginal CDF of y, another is the marginal CDF of x. That is, if we derive the CDF of x from the joint CDF. So what is this? This is the joint CDF. We derived the CDF from the joint CDF, then the corresponding CDF is called as the marginal CDF in case of both x and y. Is it clear? So what we call these, all these statements are the properties of the joint cumulative distribution function. That is, we are simply extending the concept of one random variable to two random variables. The extension of the concepts that we already studied. And what are the other properties? If you see the fxy of x comma y, this is the probability of the event x less than or equivalent to x, y less than or equivalent to y. So if it is probability, definitely it should satisfy this condition. Okay? It should not be negative. Understood? It is a non-negative function. So we already know that CDF is non-decreasing function. Here also it should be a non-decreasing function. That is, if you let x1 is less than x2 and y1 less than y2, then fxy x1 y1 should be less than or equivalent to fxy x2y. We already know that fx of x1 less than or equivalent to fx of x2 when x1 is less than x2. Here x1 is less than x2, y1 is less than y2, then fxy of x1 comma y1 and fxy of x2 y2 is this. That satisfies this condition. This indicates the joint CDF is non-decreasing function of both x and y. So fxy of x comma y is equivalent to fxy of x plus epsilon y plus delta. Here the limit epsilon tends to 0, delta tends to 0. What this indicates? It is continuous from right and continuous from top. Okay? Because it is a plane, is it? It's continuous from right side and continuous from top. That is the meaning of this property. The joint CDF is continuous from right and continuous from top. So this is the extension of this property. We already know that fx of x is limit epsilon tends to 0 fx of x plus epsilon. That is, if you move from right, its value is same. That is, the value of fx of x at x plus epsilon and x is same. It is a non-decreasing function, the continuous from right and top. And one more property is there. This property is very important. We already know that the probability of x1 less than x less than or equivalent to x2 is equivalent to. Now, what is the probability of x1 less than x2 and y1, this is y2. What does that mean? It is a joint event. So random variable x is lying in between x1 and x2, y is lying in between y1 and y. What is the probability of the random variable x that is lying in between x1 and x2, y is lying in between y1 and y. So this is an important property. So let us take the joint sample space or xy plane in which the random variable x is lying in between x1 and x2, the random variable y is lying in between y1 and y. Then the joint event. Is it right? The rectangular box is the region in which both the conditions are satisfied. That is, x is lying in between x1 and x2, y is lying in between y1 and y. So this is the region of interest. We have to find the probability of this event in which the random variable x is between x1 and x2, and y is in between y1 and y2. So in order to prove this, in order to find the probability of this particular joint event, let us consider the event x less than or equivalent to x2 and y less than or equivalent to y. What does that mean? It is x less than or equivalent to x is this entire region, y less than or equivalent to y is below that. That is, this entire region. This entire region is this event. Indication of this. Now, can I write this as if you consider this entire region, it consists of this event. That is x1 less than x less than or equivalent to x2 and y1 less than y less than or equivalent to y2. This is one event. And union of, see here, this is also one event, this region. What is this region? This is x less than or equivalent to x2 and y less than y1, is it? Therefore, see that comma is the, once again I am repeating, that indicates the joint event, intersection. So y less than or equivalent to y1. Are you following this? How I am writing? You see the diagram. Okay. First I consider the event in which it indicates the entire region below y2 and left side of x. Then that can be written as the union of 4 disjoint events. So this is one event, the region that I written as a hatched lines. And another one is, this is one region, is it? The region between x1, x2 and below y1, is it? So that can be written as x1 to x2 and y less than or equivalent to y, this region. Similarly, what about this? Union x less than or equivalent to x1 and y is in between y1 and y. And one more is there, that is this region. This region is union of x less than or equivalent to x1 and y less than or equivalent to. Is it clear? That is, this event, this joint event can be written as a union of these events. From the diagram it is very clear. You can write this event, this joint event as the union of 4 disjoint events. If you observe this, see, there is no intersection between those regions. All are mutually exclusive. Now take the probability on both sides. Probability of x less than or equivalent to x2, comma y less than or equivalent to y2 is equivalent to probability of x1 less than x less than or equivalent to x2, comma the joint event plus probability of, you write all those, just take the probability on both sides. I have understood why we are replacing that union by plus, because they are mutually exclusive events. Then probability of A union B can be written as probability of A plus probability of B. And this is y1 is between y and y2, y1 and y2 plus probability of x less than or equivalent to x1, y less than or equivalent to. Is it clear? Can I write the left hand side as fxy of x2 comma y2 from the definition of the joint density function? It is probability of x less than or equivalent to x, y less than or equivalent to y. Can be written as fxy of x comma y. Now we have x2, y2. And we have one term here plus another term, third term, and what is the last term? Here we have to find this one, first term. First term is the required one, that is the probability of x lying in between x1 and x2, y lying in between y1 and y. Can you complete this derivation?